Hi there, I'm Eitan, and welcome back to the Wix Wiz. This video is going to be the first video in what will probably pan out to be quite a long series about creating a marketplace type e-commerce website using Wix and Stripe Connect. So if you want to learn how to do that and more, let's get started. So first of all, let's just clarify what we mean by marketplace. So a marketplace is an e-commerce style platform where there are sellers or vendors that offer their own goods and services, and there are other users, which are the buyers, which purchase these goods and services. And the difference between this and what you're used to in a regular e-commerce shop, such as what is offered by Wix stores, is that the vendor or the seller is not the owner of the website, but it's another third-party user that uploads their own goods and services to the site. And what we want to try and allow, which isn't currently available with any of the Wix business solutions, is the option to allow people to upload their goods and services, for other people to purchase those goods and services, and for our platform to take a small fee or cut out of that purchase in order to profit our business, because otherwise we wouldn't really have the platform. So that is what we're trying to achieve here. And what we're going to be using is a service product called Stripe Connect. So Stripe you've probably heard of. It's one of the most famous payment solutions out there today. And one of the services that they offer is called Connect, and the purpose of this service is to facilitate the exact kind of transactions that I just mentioned, where we have two third parties that are using a specific platform to make monetary transactions. And in order to use Connect, you're going to need to set up a Stripe account. You don't have to connect any of your payment information or your payout information in order to just test it out. So you can just go ahead and set up your Stripe account and then go ahead and click Start Now. And once you activate Connect, you'll be taken to a page that looks like this, assuming you're watching the tutorial sometime in 2023 and Stripe hasn't changed their whole interface. And here you'll have some kind of instructions about getting set up, but what we really want to take a look at now is this Learn About Connect. So you can go ahead and click Read, and it will take you to the documentation. You can also just go through the URL, so it's stripe.com/docs/connect/ I'm in accounts at the moment. And accounts is really going to be the first step that we're going to set up in terms of Stripe Connect. And that's because every person that is a vendor or a seller on your site, i.e. that has to receive payouts from Stripe through your account, needs to set up a Connect account. And this is not something that they go to Stripe to do. This is something that they're going to do through your website. And when it comes to the accounts, Stripe offers 3 different types of accounts that you can create for these sellers. And that's the standard account, the express account, and the custom account. And I'm not going to go and explain every single aspect of these different accounts, but I do encourage you to read up before you start building out your solution to make sure you're picking out the right type of account for what you're trying to build. Let me highlight some of the differences. So custom is the most extreme to the right, let's call it, and that means that you want to take full control over the entire experience and essentially white label the entire experience, so people might not even know that they're using Stripe in the backend in order to facilitate these transactions. So that's really for very high-end platforms. If you have a huge team of people working and developing the platform, then that's probably more the direction for you. Chances are that if you're kind of a DIY or you're kind of a startup with not very much staff, then you'll probably be going for either the standard or the express options. And the difference is, again, I'm not going to go through all the differences, but one difference between standard and express is responsibility. So if we take a look here at the express accounts, and we can see here that if I can only find it, the platform is responsible for handling disputes and refunds, which is similar to a custom account. Whereas if you choose to go with the standard account, then Stripe will handle the the disputes and the refunds and stuff like that. And another key difference has to do with the different types of charges. So let me just skip forward here to the charges section, just so we can understand this a little better. So you'll see we have different types of charges. One is direct charges, and that is similar to, let's say, Wix Pay. So if you didn't know, and I'm 99% sure of this, but Wix Pay is essentially Stripe Connect, just white labeled as Wix Pay. And essentially what it does is it allows transactions between the user and the website owner. And so those are direct transactions that are kind of white labeled. Destination charges are if your platform is facilitating payments between two people. So, for example, something like Uber or Lyft, when the payment is made directly to one individual vendor, whereas separate charges and transfers is more like if you have a Amazon style website where you can put in different items from different vendors into your cart, and then you pay for all of those together, and then the money needs to be split up between different vendors. So that's something more like separate charges and transfers, and these all allow different controls in terms of, how you collect the money, how you pay out the money, how you take out the fees and stuff like that. So also, this is something you're going to want to look into and make choices about before you start developing your solution, depending on the type of marketplace you are developing. So that's about charges, and the different types of accounts facilitate different types of charges a little better. So you can see here that when you're using direct charges, when you're using a standard account, so Wix recommends that you use direct charges. Okay, so that kind of limits you to using direct charges, whereas if you're using express or custom accounts, then they recommend that you use separate charges and transfers. So that kind of slightly more flexible type of charging. But again, there's a lot more to be read up on this, and I definitely encourage reading through the documentation yourself and not trusting anything that I say because I may have misinterpreted something here in the documentation. So definitely read up before or consult even with Stripe customer service before actually going through and deciding on anything for your platform. So now that we have a basic understanding of accounts and charges, let's go and start by allowing our sellers on our website to set up an account. Okay, so before we actually onboard people and create their Stripe account, what we're going to want to do is make sure that they are a member of our Wix website, and B, that we collect some basic onboarding information that we need for ourselves internally. So in order to do that, let's go and set up a collection. And this will be a collection that will store all the information about our different sellers on the website. So I'm going to create this collection. I'm going to call it sellers, and I'm going to go ahead and click create. And let's think about the information that we want here. So let's add some fields for first name, and let's add in last name, and let's add in one more field for, let's say, product types that they're going to be selling. Okay, just an example. And I'll change this to be the primary, and I'll get rid of this. And one more thing that I want to store here is also their member ID, so their Wix member ID. So I'm going to go ahead and add that field as well. Member ID. And you know what? I'm actually going to make this the primary and not the first name. Put this right over here. Okay, so this is a pretty good setup basically for our sellers. And what I want to do is I want to set up a custom form that will collect this information. And once this information is complete, it will take them to the Stripe onboarding. So in order to do that, let's create a new page. And I'm going to call it, add a standard blank page, and let's call this seller onboarding. And let's add in some fields here to collect the seller information. So I'm going to add in a text field, and this will be for the first name. And I'm going to add in another text field, and this will be for the last name. And I'm going to add in a drop-down field. Let's get a drop-down over here for the product type. Okay. Whoops. I don't know why that's not letting me change the height. But let's add in a button as well. Okay, and this will be start onboarding with Stripe. Okay. Awesome. So now that we have this basic form built out, let me just change this to be add your name, sorry, first name. And this will be add your last name. And here we'll have select a product type. So here we'll have select a product type. And I'm just going to add in, let's say, 2 types of products. So let's say computers, and we'll have cars. Pretty simple. Okay, awesome. And I'm going to stack all these together just so that they kind of don't fly all around when this screen size changes. I don't know why it's not letting me adjust the height there. That's pretty annoying. Let's see, height auto, let's see, pixels, 50. Okay, that worked. Awesome. Okay, so now that we have this basic form set up, let's actually store this information in our collection when somebody submits this form. So what I'm going to do here is start setting up some code. Zoom in. Awesome. And let's just name all of our inputs. So this will be the first name input. And here we're going to have our last name input. And here we're going to have the product type dropdown. And this will be our start onboarding button. Awesome. So basically what we want to happen is we want a function. It's going to be an asynchronous function because we're going to be making an API call. We're going to be using Wix data. And this is going to be start onboarding. And what we want to happen when somebody clicks start onboarding is we're going to submit the data from this form to the database. So we're going to need to import Wix data. And what we're going to do is we are going to say const, let's say seller info equals 2. And then we'll say that the first name equals, the first name is $W, first name input dot value, and the last name is the $W last name input dot value. And here we're going to have the product type equals to product type dot value. Value. Awesome. And we also said that we wanted to get the member ID. So let's import current member from Wix members. And, or this should actually be Wix members front end, I think is the newer one. And here we'll have the member ID. So member ID will be equal to await current member dot get member. Okay, awesome. So this is all the seller info that we need, and then we can say const inserted seller equals to await Wix data dot insert, and we're inserting into the seller's collection, and we're going to be inserting the seller info object that I've created over here. And this should not be a semicolon. Awesome. And then we can just say console.log inserted seller. And this start onboarding is going to run when we click the start onboarding button. So we're select the button, start onboarding, and on click, we are going to run this start onboarding function. Awesome. So this is a pretty basic custom form setup, and we're going to test this soon. I'll just note that I haven't really set up any kind of validation or best form practices or anything like that. It's really super basic. So when you're building out your platform, I encourage you to add those things in, just because I want to focus mostly on the Stripe integration elements and less on the Wix setup elements. I'm kind of doing something very, very basic here. Maybe we'll spruce it up a bit as we get our platform up and running. So that is what's going on here. What I just want to do as well is to make this page for members only. So that will require people to log in or sign up as a Wix member before actually accessing this page, because I know that I want them to be a Wix member before they actually are able to fill out this form. So now that I got this basically set up, what we want to do at this point, okay, after we get this inserted seller, is to begin the Stripe onboarding. Okay, that's what's going to happen over here. So let's hop over to the Stripe documentation and see how we can implement that. Okay, so here I am back in the Stripe documentation, and I am in the setup of an Express account. I've decided to go with Express because in general, I'm aiming for a marketplace that's kind of like an Amazon style marketplace. And I feel like Express will give me the best balance between flexibility and ease of implementation. And again, you should double check and see which of the different account types is the best for you. And then if we kind of scroll down here, so there's a demo you can take a look at. And there are some kind of disclaimers and instructions here about different requirements and taxes and locations and stuff like that. So again, definitely read through that if you are in the middle of a real life implementation. And I'm just going to scroll down here to the actual step-by-step guide. So the first part is to configure the onboarding experience. From what I see on this Connect settings page, if you are in test mode, then there isn't really much to set up. So the branding here, there doesn't seem to be anything to set up if you're in test mode. If you are in live mode, then you're going to want to set this up in order to continue with the account setup. Okay, so that's just what's here in the Connect settings page. And since we're doing this in test mode for now, I'm just going to go ahead and skip to part 2, which is the create Express account and provide the information if you want to. In general, I'm always going to be taking the approach of doing the most simple thing first and then adding more complexities on if we decide that they're necessary. So I'm going to be starting out really with this minimum account setup, and I'm going to be using the Node version over here. So that's going to require us to use the Stripe NPM package on our website. We're also going to want to set up our API key. So if you haven't done that yet, you'll want to copy over this API key. It's really cool because Stripe kind of integrates it into the documentation. So this is my actual test API key. You could just click it to copy and then go right over here to the secrets manager and put that in over there. Once you've done that, then we can head back to our website. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install the Stripe package. So let's just search for Stripe. And I'm going to go ahead and install that Stripe wrapper. And let's get that set up. This is a great time to like the video, to comment below if you have any questions, and to subscribe to the channel. There we go. Okay, so it's in. And now we can go to our backend, and I'm going to create a backend file. I'm going to call it Stripe. And this is where we'll handle all of our Stripe endpoints, at least for now. And what I'm going to do here, that's from my little test that I did before. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to export a function, and it's going to be an asynchronous function, and it's going to be called, as you may have seen in the spoiler, it's going to be called onboard seller with Stripe. Okay, and we're going to be using the Stripe package here. We're also going to need to get our secret. So we're going to use get secret from Wix secrets backend. Awesome. So now that we're importing get secret, let's go back to the Stripe documentation. And I'm just going to copy over this right over here. And I'm going to put it inside of my new function. Okay. And here we have the API key, which I don't want to include. So I'm just going to get rid of it. And you may have seen it, but it's my test API key, so it shouldn't make too big of a difference. And instead, I'm going to get my secret here from the backend. So I'm going to say const API key equals to await get secret. And we're going to use the name of our secret over here. And awesome. Then we're just going to put here API key instead of the one that we copied over from the Stripe documentation. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this because we don't need it. And we are going to create the account using the type of express. Okay, so that's the type of account that we want to create. And I'm going to return the account that we create. Awesome, so not too complicated. And I'm going to go ahead and click play and run. And let's see if this creates an account for us. Awesome. So it looks like we created an account, and now we can go ahead back to the Stripe documentation and see what the next step is. So we created the account, and this is just some instructions about, different things that you can pre-fill and stuff like that when you're creating the account. But as I said, we're going to go first with the most simple option and then make things more complicated as we go. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create an account link. Okay, so this is going to be a link that the user is going to be redirected to complete the onboarding. Okay, so what we're going to do is to create an account link. We can see here that we have another endpoint, which is accountlinks.create. And you can always go ahead and read more about the documentation by clicking on these little kind of API links and read in depth about, what's returned, what the parameters are, and everything like that. So here we are going to just copy over this code that we have here. And I'm going to go back to the editor, back to Stripe, and I'm going to create a new function. So export. This one doesn't need to be exported, so it's just going to be an asynchronous function. And what we're going to do is we are going to say create account link, and I'm just going to paste again the code that we copied over here, and I'm going to again replace this with my API key from my secrets. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this to API key. And awesome. So let's see what we need here for our account link. So we need the connected account ID. So I'm going to pass this in as a param, account ID. And we'll have this over here. Account ID. And okay, so the type of URL that we're creating is account onboarding. I'm guessing if we took a look at the documentation, there might be some other type of account links that we can also create, and we might create later on. And okay, refresh URL and return URL. So let's take a look at what those both are. So let's take a look here at this create an account link documentation. Awesome. And let's see, account links, create an account link. Okay, so refresh URL. The URL the user will be redirected to if the account link expired. Okay, and so that will want to be, the URL should specify, the URL you specify should attempt to generate a new account link with the same parameters used to create the original account link, and then redirect user to, okay, wow, sounds a little complicated, but we can do that. And return URL is where the user should go after they complete their flow. So let's start with the return URL because that's going to be a little more simple. So I'm going to set up a page, and I'm going to call it onboarding onboarding completed. And let me just check what the endpoint of this is. So settings, SEO basics, and okay, so this I want to change. I don't want it to be blank one. Onboarding completed. And this, I just want to also double check that the URL for this looks good before I publish my site. So no, okay, so this is going to be seller onboarding. Awesome. So the URL for, let's go back to Stripe. So this return URL will be that onboarding completed page. And it's going to be essentially this domain. So https eitanwaxman.editorx.io/marketplace/ onboarding completed. Okay, so let's create a constant up here, and I'll call it domain. And this is just to make it easier for me to switch out my domain if I publish my site, let's say, and this domain changes. Okay, so this will be https eitanwaxman.editorx.io/marketplace. Okay, and here we are going to have the return URL be domain plus / onboarding completed. Okay, so that is looking pretty good. And the refresh URL is a new URL that we want to send people to if for some reason this account link setup gets there's some kind of timeout. I'm not sure exactly what the time restriction is, but it could go spoiled, it can go sour, and then we'll want to essentially send people back to this create account link again. So we're going to need some kind of endpoint that will take the same situation that the person was on the selling onboarding page and send them again to initiate this process. So the way I'm going to handle this refresh URL is essentially by using the seller onboarding URL, but just with a query param of refresh. And essentially what that will do is it will send them back to the seller onboarding page, and I'll have some code on the seller onboarding page which will check for a query param of refresh. And if there is that query param, it will essentially just go ahead and call the onboard seller with Stripe API again. Okay, so that is the process that I'm going to have here. So this is also going to be domain plus onboarding completed. Sorry, this is going to be domain plus seller onboarding with a query param of refresh, and let's just say equal true. Okay. And I'm going to set that up afterwards. So after we make sure that this is all working to begin with, I'll set up the actual process by which the refresh will work. So that's the account link over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to return this account link. Okay, so now just to make things a little more organized, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually extract this into a new function. So I'm going to call this async function create account. And then we're going to have this code over here. So it's going to go right over there. And what I'm going to do here with the onboarding seller with Stripe, I'm going to say const account equals to await create account. And then we're going to get back this account. And let's just take a look at what this returned object looks like. So if I go here to back to the documentation, and I take a look here at the create endpoint, then we'll see that it comes back and there's create.id. Okay, so that's what I need here. Sorry, account.id. And that's what I'm going to need to use in my code. So then I'm going to say here const account link equals to await create account link, and we're going to have account.id. And then we're just going to return this account link. And now in the front end, we just need to take this account link and send the user to that account link. So let's go here to seller onboarding. And I'm going to say here, okay, inserted seller equals await, etc. And then here we're going to do the Stripe onboarding. So let's import that from our backend. So import, whoa, that's not what I wanted to say. I wanted this. Import our function from backend/Stripe. And then we are going to say over here, const account link equals to await onboard seller with Stripe. And once we get that account link, we will redirect the person to that link. So we'll say Wix, import Wix location. And we'll say Wix location frontend dot to, and we'll have here the account link. And awesome. So this is all looking pretty cool. Let's add in some console logs just to kind of keep track of what's going on. So here, I'll just add in console.log account just so we can keep track. And I'll make sure that I'm looking here in my logs in the backend. Yeah, and overall, this looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And let's go to our live site. And the first thing we'll need to do, so I'm going to click here, Start as a Seller. And, oh, so I didn't connect the Start as a Seller button. So that's a little bit of my bad. So let me just go ahead and do that. Home, Start as a Seller. So this is going to want to go to our seller onboarding page. Okay, and I'll hit Publish on that and refresh. Awesome. So start as a seller. Let's try refreshing again. Start as a seller. There we go. So it's requiring us to sign up, so that's expected. So let me sign up with email, and I'll just call this one tester1@gmail.com and tester1. I am not a robot, and buses, buses, buses. Awesome. So I signed up for the site, and now I should be able to go to the seller onboarding page. Let's try that again. Here we go. Okay, so I'm on the seller onboarding page, and I'm just going to call this tester and the one. And I'll select the product type of computers, and let's try clicking Start Onboarding with Stripe. So I click Start Onboarding with Stripe, and let me take a look at our logs. Okay, so I don't have permissions to insert on the seller's collection. So let's just quickly fix that up and go to my site, go to collections, your collections, permissions and privacy, and we'll say that anyone can add content. Or we'll say that site members can add content. Okay, because only site members should be able to become sellers. And let me just save that and publish. And let's try filling out this form one more time. Clear my logs. And okay, so we tester one and product type computers, and let's click Start Onboarding with Stripe. And dun, 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 dun. Let's see. Okay, okay. Let's see. Error. Error handling the request, unable to handle the request. Okay. You must update your Connect branding settings with business name, icon, brand color in order to create an account link. So that's what I didn't see the ability to do when I was using the test account. So let's go back just to those settings. Right? I'm not going crazy, right? There's nothing to do here. So let me try turning off the test mode. And let me try setting that up. So let's see, business details. Let's call it WixWiz, and appearance. Let's see if we can put in an icon. Let me look for, I don't know. Okay, so we're not gonna have an icon for now. And logo we don't need. Let's change the color to something a little more WixWiz, something nice and green. Um, awesome. So let me save the branding changes. And okay, I'm gonna guess that that saved. Not such great kind of user experience there on the saving, but let me go back into test mode. And let's try this again. So I don't even need to refresh my site because this is really just a Stripe thing. So let me go ahead and clear that and try to start onboarding with Stripe again. So let's see what we get here now in the logs. No, you must connect your brand settings with icon. Okay, so I have to have an icon apparently, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and add an icon. Let me go look for something. Bear with me, bear with me. This is your chance to like the video if you're if you're looking for something to do. Um, let's see. There we go. Oh no. Oh God. Let's see. Is that one smaller? Okay, awesome. That will be good. And oh wait, it didn't save. That's weird. It didn't save my color change from before. That's weird. And here we'll have Wix and let's save those branding changes. Yeah, that's so weird. So when I change it, let's go into test mode again. And let's go back out of test mode. Yeah, for some reason it's not saving my branding settings. Okay, so I'm back, and it turns out that you have to change everything here in order for it to save. So I had to change the brand color, the accent color, the logo, and the icon for it to save. And then finally now, when I go into test mode, you can see that the changes have been preserved. So that, if anybody from Stripe happens to be watching this video, I felt a little lost there. To be honest, it would be nice if there were some error messages about what the required fields are. And it's just pretty weird that you have to change these colors, but sure. So now that that has been changed, let's try our selling onboarding, hopefully for the last time. So let me clear my log and start onboarding with Stripe. And let's see, check out my logs. Okay, unsupported type at links.getObjectProp. Uh-huh. What is going on over here? Okay, so let's see what this returns. So basically, I think this error is coming from the Wix location. So if we check out over here, go into console. Yeah, so this is a problem with Wix location. So let's try and figure out what is actually coming back from that API. So I'm going to need to add another log here in the front end. So let's go over here, sorry, to our seller onboarding page. And let's add here console.log account link. I could also just double check the documentation first and see here in terms of the account link what will come back. Okay, so this is the response. So this is my mistake essentially, that I should, instead of just using the account link, I need to be returning this account link.url. So let's fix that up in our backend. Pretty easy fix. This is going to be account link.url. Let me go ahead and publish that. And I'm going to refresh this. And we'll try signing up, hopefully for the last time. And bum, 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 bum. Okay, so tester 1 and computers. Let's start the onboarding with Stripe. And okay, so we saved it to our database, and now we're waiting for that URL to come back. We got the URL, and we have navigated to the URL. Okay, so this is what we were trying to get to in terms of setting up the account. And basically, this will let people set up their accounts as vendors or sellers and get payouts after their products are sold. And here, so now we're in test mode, so it's not requiring my email. It seems like it is, okay, so you can skip this in test mode with the test phone number. So let's see what the test phone number is. Oh, a lot of zeros. So let's go ahead and click continue. You're currently in test mode, use test code. And yeah, this is why it's definitely worth doing in test mode. Okay, so now it just requires some information about the business, and this is stuff that Stripe requires for different, legal and technical reasons. Let's go ahead and click continue. Details. Okay, so tester 1 and okay, www.thewixwiz.com. And okay, so here let's enter test account bank credentials instead. Use test account. And awesome. So now I'm connected to my fake bank account where I'm going to receive the payouts that people, pay for. Sorry, like the payouts from goods that I sell. And let's click continue and let's submit. And now it's taking me back to the Wix Wiz. And you'll see that it's taking me back to the onboarding completed page that I told it should be the redirect URL. Okay, so with that, we essentially successfully completed the onboarding process. So let's see what the next step would be here in terms of Stripe. So here we handled the user returning to the platform. Okay, so the person has returned via the return URL, and no state is passed to the URL. So you'll notice that here we don't have any kind of query params or any additional information that is being passed back to our URL over here. But instead, what Stripe is going to require us to do is to get the information via webhook. So with that, I am going to conclude this first part of the tutorial. And next time we're going to be talking about retrieving that account information via the webhook. We'll also talk about step number 6, which is handling users that have not completed the onboarding. Okay, so that next episode should wrap up setting up the accounts for us. If you like this video, then don't forget to like and comment below. And if you want to see the rest of the chapters of this tutorial, then you should go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.